Cambridge Dictionary defines fake news as false stories that appear to be news spread on the internet or using other media usually created to influence political views or as a joke. It's a phenomenon that we often associate with the use of social media. These platforms provide an ideal breeding ground for fake news, which can be used to rapidly spread content around the world with very few checks in place to make sure that the information contained within it is accurate and up to date. Fake news can be split into two different categories. The first of these being disinformation. This refers to inaccurate or false content that is shared with the deliberate intention of misleading people. For example, lots of tweets sent by former US President Donald Trump falsely claiming to have won the 2020 US election were flagged by Twitter as an example of disinformation. The second category is misinformation. This refers to inaccurate or false content that's shared by an individual or organisation that's unaware that they're passing on fake news. An example of this would be an individual sharing or retweeting an item of content that's not true without understanding that this is the case. In November 2020, the hashtag RIPDrake began trending on Twitter, as it was retweeted by thousands of people who saw an original hoax post falsely claiming that the artist had died. We know that fake news can spread incredibly quickly. One study found that fake news is shown to be 70% more likely to be shared on Twitter than an accurate piece of news. This means that a piece of fake news would reach 1,500 social media users 6 times faster than an accurate news item would. We can imagine a piece of fake news being spread in the same way that a virus spreads through a community. Let's imagine that someone's been quote-unquote infected by an item of fake news and they post it in a group chat with 5 other friends. If those friends take in the content and believe it to be true, they also become infected and can act as spreaders. This can then cause a snowball effect. If each of the 5 people in the chat pass on the fake news to 5 more friends, we can see how quickly the spread can get out of hand. This is why it's so important to be able to not only protect ourselves from the spread of fake news, but also to play our part in protecting others, like with the virus. This model, produced by the World Health Organization, shows the impact of us doing that. By taking practical steps to recognise fake news and protect ourselves from being infected by it, we can stop the spread and protect others too. One way in which you can do this is by remembering to be clued up when you consider a piece of content that you come across. Is it credible? Does the content come from a person or organisation that you'd expect to be knowledgeable on the subject they're talking about? For example, when considering a piece of content around something like a vaccination programme, we can expect organisations such as the NHS to give us more reliable information than some anonymous Twitter account. Is it logical? When you read or listen to the content, does it sound like something that's likely to be true, or does it feel a bit far-fetched? If a piece of content contains information that sounds outrageous or shocking and isn't able to back it up with any evidence, you should think twice about how accurate it is. Is it unemotional? Does the content use facts and knowledge to make its point, or does it play on your emotions? Appealing to emotions is a popular tactic used by those creating disinformation. If a piece of content can succeed in making us feel angry or scared, this can cause us to bypass the part of our brain which makes us consider whether the content seems realistic or accurate. Is it evidenced? Does the information provide sources or evidence to back up the claims that it makes? Even if a piece of content claims that it's based on evidence, it's really important that we check that this evidence comes from a source that's actually credible. Is it identifiable? Is the information definitely coming from the organisation or individual that you think it is? The rise of bots and fake accounts on social media platforms means that it's easier for us to be tricked into thinking the content we see comes from a credible source. It's important to check the profile or bio of individuals or organisations producing content to look for signs that they're definitely who they claim to be. Is it up to date? Has the information been published or updated recently so that it's likely to reflect the current situation? At the time it was published, this content may well have been accurate and truthful reporting. However, events, circumstances and the knowledge available around a topic might have moved on since the content was published, potentially turning it into a source of misinformation. Purpose. Does the individual or organisation publishing the content have a motive for doing so other than simply telling the truth? For example, publicly funded organisations like the NHS and the BBC are highly unlikely to be motivated by anything other than reporting of factual information. On the other hand, a private business or social influencer who's advertising or promoting products or services that they sell is likely to tell you that it offers the best items on the market, regardless of whether or not this is backed up by factual evidence. If you remember these things, you should be able to spot fake news.